There's lots of ways to get into this and lots to talk about. But can we just start with that idea that you have this key man risk when it comes to Bitcoin from Elon Musk? Like, how do you deal with that or think about that in terms of then making Bitcoin an investment thesis?
Well, we've certainly seen no shortage of volatility within Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency ecosystem overall. When we see pullbacks in prices like this, whether there are market dynamics, news, or even someone like Elon Musk tweeting about Bitcoin, we see investors using this as an opportunity to average down on their investments. If they can buy the same asset for 10, 15% cheaper than they could, even just 12 hours ago, and their conviction hasn't changed, then this really presents, an opportunistic buy for a lot of folks.
Does Bitcoin have an environmental problem, though?
We don't believe that it does. I think Bitcoin mining, as you guys were discussing, is something that has evolved quite rapidly. Let's zoom out for a second and remember that Bitcoin has only been around for the last 10 or 12 years. And in the early days, a store-bought computer could mine Bitcoin. That's now morphed into a global, highly competitive industry. And yes, Bitcoin mining does require energy usage and a high amount of energy usage. But one of the ways that miners have begun to compete with each other is to systematically set up their operations in areas where they can access cheap or renewable energy sources, things like hydro, wind, and solar. And I believe the latest statistic is about 76% of miners are using some form of renewable energy as part of their energy mix, and oftentimes are using energy that would otherwise go wasted on the grid. So we're midway through this life cycle of working through some of the environmental concerns around digital assets. But again, early days.
Yeah, it's also the big problem, of course, is China, because China mostly still gets coal. 54% of Bitcoin mined in China is done by coal. So that's really one of the main problems. Talking about your business specifically, you guys filed today a Form 10 for a GDLC to turn it into an SEC reporting entity. And I'm wondering, does this a preemptive Gary Gensler SEC going to crack down on Bitcoin derivatives thing?
No, this is really part of the regular course of the life cycle of Grayscale products. We often work to launch our products as private placements, get them into the public market, work to get them to be SEC reporting, and then eventually we believe our products will be able to become ETFs. So far, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust and Ethereum Trust are the first two and only SEC reporting companies that are digital currency investment instruments. And so if the digital large cap fund is deemed effective as well, it'll bring that level of transparency and reporting that we think investors are looking for and quite frankly, that they deserve as they're trying to navigate digital currency investing.
Michael, in one way, I can buy Bitcoin cheap. I can buy it through you because you trade at a discount to the price. Do you think if you convert to an ETF that discount will close?
It is our belief, looking at the arbitrage mechanisms built in ETFs, that any discounts or premiums of where shares may trade relative to the product's net asset value would be arbitraged away. And so there is certainly a narrative about buying shares at a discount and potentially buying yourself Bitcoin exposure at a discount to the spot price of Bitcoin that eventually would be arbed away when the product, or if the product is able to convert to an ETF.
In the meantime, is there another plan? Digital Currency Group has been buying shares. That's the parent of Grayscale. It's been buying shares of the trust, but it still hasn't closed that gap. Is there another strategy in the meantime?
We're always looking at other ways to support our products, and certainly one of the strategies has been for Digital Currency Group. I think the latest figure is that they're authorized to buy up to $750 million worth of GBTC shares on the open market. And so we're continuing to evaluate the market dynamics, but that is certainly a compelling opportunity that they see. And we also see a lot of other investors stepping into the trade as well.
Michael, are you going to continue to focus on Bitcoin? Where do you see the focus going in terms of the crypto space? If Elon Musk decides that Bitcoin is not where he wants to be, and there is this argument suggesting that maybe what we've just seen is him setting up maybe an opportunity for Tesla, maybe an opportunity for a more environmentally focused crypto products. I'm just wondering kind of how carefully you're going to have to follow this, where you think the opportunity is going to lie next.
Well, we're focused across the crypto ecosystem at Grayscale. We now operate 14 different investment vehicles and are really looking to provide investors with access to various digital assets. We've seen the emergence of various protocols that have differentiated use cases and in most instances are really working to solve real world issues, create efficiencies, save time, save money. And so we'll continue to evaluate the landscape as other digital currencies develop and potentially gain traction. But certainly we've seen amongst our investors not only participation in our Bitcoin product, but our Ethereum product, as well as really across the entire Grayscale family. So it's an exciting time for sure.
Help me understand just in terms of, say, the volume of trades that you're noticing. There was a great article in the Bloomberg talking about options trading and the put-call ratio for the S&P being quite high. And one possible part of the explanation is that there just wasn't the volume. People just weren't trading as much, which led me to believe that maybe it's a going back to work thing. If you're back in the office, you have your job back, maybe you're not trading options as much. Maybe you're not trading things like Bitcoin as much. Have you noticed any change since we've sort of reopened up and vaccinations kicked up?
I don't think so. I think certainly 2020 was a very challenging time, not just globally, but if we're going to drill into the investments space, we saw things sell off precipitously, and in many instances, crypto and Bitcoin specifically sold off even harder when you date back to kind of March of 2020, when COVID brought the global economy to a grinding halt. And I think what you've seen is a real resilience and a real strength in this asset class that's drew in quite a few new investors that have been very public about their participation in the ecosystem. And it's not just visionaries that like Elon Musk or Jack Dorsey. You're seeing real institutional involvement. And when you combine that with what's going on corporate balance sheets, adding Bitcoin, as well as just the surrounding environment and the stimulus being injected into the financial system, you've seen investors continue to gravitate towards new stores of value and new return streams like crypto. Yep. And we only see that trend continuing.